Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today we're going to be taking a look at a very interesting and very expensive knife. This here is the Holt Bladeworks Haptic. Now, before I go any further into this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, let's take a look at some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length of 7.41 inches with a blade length coming in at 3.24 inches and a cutting edge coming in right at 3.2 inches. We have a blade width of 0.95 inches and a blade thickness of 0.13 inches. That blade material is M390 with a very, I would call it, unique sheep's foot blade. I'll get to that when we get to the blade. We have a hollow grind with a handle length at 4.17 inches, handle thickness coming in at 0.44 inches, and a handle width of 1.06 inches. Handle material is titanium with a liner lock. We have a right hand only tip up carry and a weight coming in at 3.7 ounces. Now, as for the price on this guy, they vary because my understanding is they're made to order from Holt Bladeworks. I believe you try and enter a lottery or you get in when their books are open, and you can have them do certain things for you. You can, different anodizations, components. I believe this here is zirconium, and obviously an extensive amount of milling. So it really varies. I believe this one was right around the $950 range, so not cheap. But you do get what you pay for. And let's do some size comparisons. Let's take a look at this. It is, again, another very, it's one of those knives that I like to think of in my super sweet spot of what an EDC is, comparing it with the Benchmade Bug Out, as well as the Quiet Carry Waypoint. As you can see, I think these are probably the two best examples I have when it comes to length. Very, very similar right there. And actually, I just thought of another one. This is another one that is pretty comparable in a little more in length and width and thickness and a lot of that. That is the ProTech Malibu, which is another phenomenal, incredible, amazing knife. Any favorable word you could use to describe this could be thrown in there because it's just an amazing piece and a lot less of a cost. But another very good one to compare it with. Feels a little more similar in hand than the Waypoint. So there's some pretty good size comparisons. And let's get to talking about this guy. Because this is another shout out to my buddy D'Lo. D'Lo, thanks again, man, for sending this in to me. If it wasn't for you, I probably would have never been able to check this out. So it really is amazing the trust and generosity I get from the knife community and guys that have become friends. So I really do appreciate any time I can get such a pristine piece like this on the channel, because this isn't something I could just afford on a daily given basis. So do appreciate that very, very much. Now, as for the blade, like I said, it's a unique sheep's foot because I find it to be a very sleek sheep's foot. It doesn't have quite the height that some sheep foots have. Some of them are sheep's foot. Some of them can be kind of wide and thick. This is not that. This is slender, it's thin, it's slicey. Really digging the harpoonish swedge you have up here. Don't think I've ever seen that on a sheep's foot blade before. Really do like that. Got a little bit of a swedge and grind going up there. We'll cut out to give it that harpoonish look. Really am a fan of that. This knife has a respectable edge. Now, a lot of people would think, oh, a $950 knife, it must have an edge of, 9,000s and be incredibly, sliced through, thin air. Well, you don't always have to have that slicey thin of an edge. Right here we have an edge of 17 thousandths, which is plenty slicey enough if it's a really good hollow grind, which this is. It's a nice deep hollow grind. Makes for a nice combination of sliciness and strength to the blade. So there's a lot of pros that come with that little bit extra of a thicker edge, and not that 17 thousandths is thick by any means. Like I said, this knife slices just fine. So no issues there whatsoever. I do like the nice light stonewash you have here. It's not too much. It kind of has a very, very blurred, mirrory look to it, to where you can kind of just see the outlines of figures, but you don't get any detail. So it's a very nice finish on it, and I do appreciate it very much. The jimping is okay. The jimping on the spine up here, I was really expecting that to be a little better. It just doesn't provide much bite. So, I mean, I feel it, but I don't really find it to be very functional, if that makes sense. I'm sure it does. Yeah, it could have a little more bite for my liking. As for the flipper tab's going to get a lot of not so popular attention here. I am not a fan of this flipper tab for a couple reasons. First of all, it desperately needs a redesign because for me, I find this to be too pokey. I really think it needs something similar to what the Koenig Arius got. This here is a current version Koenig Arius. Now, the older versions had more of the hook, or I guess you could say hook or point, to where it came up. You had a little more of a point there. And when I say point, I don't mean it's gonna, like, you know, stab you, but it feels more pokey. And what they did to the Arius here was they really rounded that off, made it a lot more friendly to just push when you go to deploy the blade. I love that. I think that's the best improvement they've probably ever made to this knife, in all honesty. And this is my all-time favorite knife. But what you have here is just, it's not that comfortable. The first couple flips are fine. You don't notice it. But if you go to fidget with a knife, or if you just press a little too directly on it and not down enough, it starts to hurt. It legitimately starts to hurt and irritate my finger. I think if they would just round that off just ever so much, just like, oh gosh, I don't know, just like that. I mean, just enough to where you still have the jimping, so you still get the traction, you can still flip it, you just don't have that little pressure point poking you. I think that would be an immense improvement to this knife. As is, I really don't like the flipper tab that much at all, to be honest. And it also has this adjustable detent system, which we'll just go right into the handle and ergos right now, because this is basically part of the handle. In here, you have a detent right here, which is very similar to Brian Nadeau's Sharp by Design. There used to be a lot of controversy surrounding that, or at least there was some unhappiness filtering throughout the community about it. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm just pointing out for the understanding of everybody else that doesn't know that or hadn't heard of it. You have basically, instead of a detent ball here, you have a metal insert that works kind of like the Nadeau system, if you're familiar with that. It's not a detent ball. And then right down here, it kind of looks like a detent ball, but as you can see, it's actually a screw. And that screw is an adjustable detent system, and it comes with a real tiny little driver that you can, or kind of wrench looking thing, that you have to disassemble the knife. I was not able to go in there and make the adjustment with the knife open because I didn't have enough clearance. So you have to disassemble the knife, and then you have to, or you might be able to hold the liner down, but I don't know how you would. That would be a real pain to hold the liner down. Yeah, I don't know how you. I think you have. I'm pretty sure you have to disassemble the knife. I have not disassembled this knife. Too expensive. I passed on it. But you have to adjust that detent system there, and that's what makes the strength of the detent lighter or weaker. Because some people like a lighter detent, some people prefer a stiffer detent. I don't know about that. I would struggle to find anyone that has a problem with the detent on a Koenig Arius. If you have a Koenig Arius and you don't like the detent on that, let me know. Or if you've ever experienced a Koenig Arius and you don't like the detent on that, please let me know. I don't think I'm going to have anyone saying that, unless there was an error or some type of a bit of a defect on the detent of an Arius, which I'm sure you could send back to Koenig and they would take care of that for you. So I'm saying a solid, good detent from the Koenig factory. I don't think anyone would have a problem with that. So this is kind of my thing about the adjustable detent system, is I just don't find it necessary. I think for a knife that is $900+ depending how you have it made, they shouldn't have a problem coming up with a detent that everyone can universally like. I'm 99.9% sure that is the case with the Koenig Arius. They nail the detent all the time. So I think it's overkill. It's too much. It's something that it's just one more thing to have to mess with. And I don't think it's necessary. I would much rather just not have to deal with adjusting my detent, because for $900+ it should come with a good detent that I think everyone likes. outside of that issue with the adjustable detent system, the actual ergos on the knife are fantastic. The ergos are fantastic. It feels great in hand. Even though this does have a little bit of an arc on the flipper tab here, that doesn't dig into my hand. So just as far as holding the knife in your hand, that feels good. No issue there whatsoever. Feels good in the reverse grip. If you ever have to use it, you probably won't. But no, it feels very good. This is pretty much the only grip. Well, I mean, the hammer grip, I guess, is always kind of, another grip that you could hold it in. But I always prefer to hold a knife like this to have that extra support from my thumb, unless for some crazy reason that I just have to really bear down and push through. But ergos are really good. And the milling on this guy is insane. It's literally just as good as the Arius. As far as the quality on the actual fit and finish, this is absolutely Koenig level in my opinion. It's really good. You have a lot of the internal milling. You have everything that you look for in a Koenig, which is kind of my gold standard for what a knife should be. As far as upper echelon, expensive, all the little details are paid attention to. This milling is very fine, very precise, no blemishes. It provides perfect texture, not too much, but not too little, and just looks so damn good. Love the way the pocket clip looks. It works just fine, plenty enough ramp to go over any hem, carries deep enough. You're going to have about that much sticking out, which is no big deal to me whatsoever. Just really, really solid. Excellent ergos. Yeah. If you have bigger hands, you may find it a little cramping. I feel like I have slightly bigger hands than an average person, but I think it feels fine. But I have seen some people with some meat claws that it may feel a little small in their hands, but I think it feels absolutely fantastic, and no real issue outside of that. Now, as for the action, that is insane close. And just do that again. Yeah, the closing action is beyond butter. It's fantastic, and I can probably, pretty easily. Very nice, as you can see. Very easy access to the liner lock, and it closes extremely easy. If it wasn't for this point on the flipper tab, I'd be raving about this thing up and down, but the flipper tab needs a little work. As for the action, it is very similar to a Brian Nadeau Sharp by Design, whether it be a Void or the Typhoon, it doesn't matter. Very, very similar. And right here, this even hits a little different than the Sharp by Design. Now, I do have to say this has skiff bearings, although I've also heard the nicer and higher quality level of precision you have in a knife, the less effective skiff bearings will be. So I'm also kind of left to wonder, how much do skiff bearings really play into the action of this knife? Because I know it's already extremely tight, accurate, immensely high quality standards that are being followed. So I don't know if the skiff bearings are even making that big of a difference, but regardless, the action is just stupid good. Definitely hits differently, feels differently. Once you break that detent, you feel nothing. You just see the blade fly out. It really is an amazing knife to experience. Ultimately, what it leaves me with such incredible action, with such incredible fit and finish, overall, the little details in the backspacer, everything, it leaves me a little disappointed because I really don't like the adjustable detent system. I wish it didn't have that. My overall thoughts on the knife is it's incredible. I absolutely love it. I just, personally, for this much money, I wouldn't buy one just because I wouldn't want to mess with the detent system. I don't want to have one more thing to mess with on a knife. Now, I don't know how much that would come loose or have to be adjusted, but I just don't think it's necessary. I'm sorry. That's just this is one guy's opinion here, but I just don't find it necessary. When I've handled plenty enough knives that have what I find to be, or what I consider to be, perfect detents, Obviously, those are all different. Detents have to vary by each knife design. They're going to be different. There's no such thing as one perfect universal detent. Never has been, never will be. But I don't like the idea of having to adjust it. There's already enough maintenance that I put into my knives, from disassembling and cleaning and, pivot tightness and blade centering. I don't need adjustable detents to be one of them. So overall, I do still think the knife is pretty badass. I really, really like it. Outside of the flipper tab and adjustable detent, I would have zero complaints, and I would be very, very tempted to get one. But as is, it's kind of relieving for me to tell myself, you just don't need one of these. But I would still highly recommend checking one out if you can. If you like the idea of an adjustable detent system, by all means, go for it. This is an American-made company. It's all made in the U.S. They're very dedicated to their craft, and they make an amazing knife. So this is just kind of my view, my opinion on it. But it is a great knife. Let me know what you guys think. I'm really interested to hear this, because I didn't mean to. I'm just speaking the truth, guys. I always have and I always will. Just what I think about this knife. Let me know what you think. I'm really looking forward to hearing that. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope you can all get a chance to experience something like this, because whether you buy one or not, it really is an incredible knife with a very unique, different action. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.